Chapter 40. Stags Club, Mayfair, London, UK. David strode through the door of Stags Club and beamed at the concierge stood behind the reception desk. "Glad to see you're still in business, Bob," looking round the room. "And you've smartened up the place. Nice decor." Bob stared at him, open-mouthed. There'd been rumours that he was dead. "Oh, glad to hear you're still alive, sir. Thought we'd lost one of our most popular members. It seems you have 9 lives, sir." Ever the discreet, butleresque type, Bob rarely showed any emotion, but he was clearly very happy to see David. David had always brought a smile to his members' faces, except when he didn't. Bob shook his head at the thought of Lord Canute's near dismemberment on the torture chamber's wooden wheel. "Did you wish to partake in anything in particular today, sir? We have a few group situations in the dungeon, a few bondage, the medieval crowd, not the army crowd, and those 2 ladies you had on your last visit are here. They gave you a very good write-up. I'm sure they'd love to have you again, sir." "Sadly," David grimaced. A few hours with the ladies would be good right now. "I'm here to pick your brains. Another time, and do send them my love." Bob tilted his head to the side. "Of course, sir. One moment." He reached under the desk and flicked a switch, disabling the CCTV cameras dotted around them. "What can I do for you?" "New cameras, Bob?" asked David, checking out the room. They were well hidden. The type of powerful clientele Stags had would not wish to be seen here. "Yes, sir. We had a refit after the very sad incident with your friend. We don't want anything like that happening again." David felt his heart jolt. It was his fault Seb had died. The guilt was always near the surface. He made a mental note to ask Jack to get an apology to him. Bob noticed the flicker of regret in his eyes. "Sorry, sir. I didn't mean to—" "No problem, Bob. Shit happens, and then you die." "And are you dealing with the perpetrators, sir?" "I will do," David nodded, running a hand through his hair. "If I live long enough." "Good, sir." Bob grinned at him. "And if you don't, you can always dish karma from the skies." "When I'm dead, you mean?" "Yeah." David laughed. "You believe in all that stuff, do you, Bob?" "Oh, yes, sir. I'm quite looking forward to it. I have quite a list of folks I'm going to sort out. I call it my penance list." David shook his head with a smile. "Yeah, I used to have one of those. I tell you what, you give me your list, and if I die before you, I'll crack on with it for you. What do you say?" Bob stared at him for a moment, giving the idea some thought. "How many have you got?" asked David. 108, sir." 108? repeated David, wide-eyed. "Fuck me, that's rather a lot, isn't it, Bob?" "Well, sir, I do meet rather a lot of bastards in my line of work. I'm going to be a bit busy up there. Then I'll be chucked below ground once I'm done. But it's the principle, sir. If you can't be a good human, you need to be sorted. That's my motto." "Wow, Bob, and I thought I was bad. You're an Olympian compared to me. Well, get me the list, explain how they got on it, and at least I can give it a start before you get there." The men nodded at each other. "So, what can I do for you, sir?" "Where do men of the cloth go for their illicit kicks? I'm tracking one at the moment for a friend. If the police don't manage to sort him, I will." "Ah, the religious ones. They're the worst if you ask me. All that trust folk have in them, and they go and abuse it. It's disgusting," sighed Bob. "They do have a few places they like to frequent. I can find out for you. What city are we talking?" "His church is in Fulham, so South London would be a good start. If you have a list of any more dodgy clergymen, let me know. We should try to ruffle a few feathers in all of them, don't you think?" "What's this particular one's name, sir, if you don't mind me asking?" Father Fitzpatrick of St. Andrew's Church. I'll get on it for you, sir. Us concierges know all the secrets, more than folk realise. To them, we're invisible, but we see and hear everything, and normally get tasked with covering things up. I'll ask around and get back to you. David pulled out his new phone and handed it to Bob. Here, put your number in and text yourself. If you don't get a reply, it's because I've moved on to another phone. I seem to be getting through them recently. Bob put his number in and handed David back the phone. Right, I'm off. David pulled on the door to open it. His head dropped for a second as he stood in silence. You okay, sir? Asked Bob. Fuck it, sighed David, spinning round and sprinting down the stairs. What number did you say the girls were in? He shouted back over his shoulder. 7, shouted Bob with a grin. I'll let them know you're on your way. No, they'll know soon enough. David disappeared through a door at the bottom of the stairs, pulling his shirt up from his waistband and undoing the buttons. He strolled down the hallway of doors, past a cacophony of sighs, cries and groans. The club was busy. He got to door 7 and peered in the window. The 2 women were naked on the mattress, one with a strap on taking the other from behind, pushing her forward onto all fours. He kicked open the door and leaned back against the doorframe, one hand on his cock, the other undoing his trouser buckle. The women turned to look at who the hell had dared interrupt them. "Hello, ladies," he beamed with a salacious grin. "I'm home." They froze mid-thrust. Their jaws dropped. They thought he was dead. He dropped his trousers, yanked down his boxer shorts, and released his delicious swaying appendage into the room. "And he sighed, looking down at his cock, "is bloody pleased to see you." The women, overjoyed to see him, charged at his torso and dragged him to the mattress, to his cries of, "Mind the bullet wound, ladies! It's still healing." An hour later, he emerged back up the stairs, saying goodbye to Bob. "Shall we try that again?" he grinned, looking a little worse for wear. "Goodbye, Bob. See you soon." As he walked out of the mews, he received a message. It was Naylam. "Office. Now." "A man of few words," he muttered, waving down a black cab. Leaning back in his seat, he watched busy London streets fly past his window. A memory of Naylam in the shower flashed into his mind. He smiled to himself, accepting that to men built like Naylam, words were overrated. He didn't need many. He wondered if the sergeant would like to share a session with the Stags ladies one day. The thought got placed on his to-do list, if he lived long enough. Unseen, Nathan, Christian and Sarah stood at the entrance of the mews, watching his taxi speed away.